So last week I asked you guys on Instagram and TikTok, what questions do you have about learning guitar or about music theory? I got tons of great responses, so I'm going to try and answer as many as I can as best as I can. So let's start with question number 1 from Julia Vera. Please explain how on earth harmonics on guitar work. So there are many types of harmonics like natural, artificial, pinched, and tapped. Each are used for different genres of music, and each also hold their own level of difficulty. The physics behind harmonics pretty much is all about string length. When you play open string harmonics or natural harmonics, you are modifying the vibration of the string, and depending where you play it, you are splitting the string in halves, thirds, fourths, etc. For example, the 12th fret would split that string in half and cause that harmonic sound because the 12th fret is in the middle of that string length. I would start with practicing the natural harmonics first before getting into those other types. All you have to do is just lightly put your finger directly on top of the fret, but don't apply pressure. Then pluck the string and lightly take your finger off. The 12th fret is definitely the easiest to do this with, but you can also use the 5th and 7th fret. The next question comes from Joe.6401. How do I get better at speed and scales in soloing? I want to solo like Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr., but I don't know where to start. So I never really got into their music, but I did watch a clip of his playing so I can get a better idea of what you're talking about. I think there's a basic foundation for any guitar player who plays fast and all over the neck, so here are some tips to be able to do that. First, I would get really comfortable with scales all throughout the neck, so learn all 5 of the pentatonic positions as well as the 7 positions of the major scale. Once you really have a full understanding of those positions, then you can start to slowly connect them together. Don't rush and don't try and play fast if you can. It's not going to sound very good and it's probably going to discourage you. If you want to be able to play fast, you have to slowly build into that speed. So play those scales to a metronome, play some Dinosaur Jr. licks to a metronome, and as you get more comfortable with them, slowly bump up the BPM. It's all about practicing your speed consistently and with a metronome. If you do those things, your speed will increase and sound better and better over time. So keep practicing. All right, so Brogan Boy asks, I'm struggling learning the circle of fifths. Can you please help me? As Google describes it, the circle of fifths is a way of organizing the 12 chromatic pitches as a sequence of perfect fifths. Let me break this down. The reason it's called the circle of fifths is because it starts with a note or a key. In this case, it starts with C, and the following note will be 5 notes from that starting note. And that goes around and around clockwise until it gets back to C. So if you're going right in this diagram, each are a 5th degree of the one prior. For example, C to G would be C, D, E, F, G. Then G to D would be G, A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. The circle of fifths also organizes the amount of sharps and flats in order. That's why it starts with C, because C has no sharps or flats. But as we go around clockwise, the sharps increase. For example, G has 1 sharp, D has 2 sharps, A has 3 sharps, E has 4 sharps, B has 5 sharps, etc. And as we keep going around, it changes to flats. Using this diagram can be great for memorizing how many sharps and flats there are in a specific key. It's also important to remember that the notes on the outer circle are major keys, and the notes within the circle are the relative minors of those major keys. So as you can see, C, and directly under it inside the circle, we would have A minor. G, we would have E minor. D, we would have B minor. A, we would have F sharp minor, and this goes on and on. So why is it even important to know this? Well, knowing how many sharps and flats there are in a key can help you understand what makes up a specific key scale or mode, and it can also help with understanding chord progressions. There's tons of other great benefits using the circle of fifths, and I can make a whole other video about this, and I think I actually will sometime in the future. I hope that helped, but if you're still confused, I attached a PDF document going over the circle of fifths and the circle of fourths down in the description below. It will just further explain everything I went over in this video. This next question comes from River Sheila. In excruciating detail, can you show how you hold your pick and palm muting? So how I hold my pick actually varies. It all depends on what I'm playing. You have to figure out what's comfortable for you, so here are a few options you can try out. You have the closed hand like this. So it's mainly just the thumb and pointer and a tiny bit of my middle finger on the back edge of the pick, and my other fingers are loosely curling towards the palm of my hand. I use this when I solo, but I also hold it like this. Just my thumb and pointer and my other 3 fingers sort of become anchors on the pick guard. For me, I have more control when my hand is closed. But I do use the anchor approach sometimes during my solos and rhythm playing. It's actually very inconsistent of which approach I normally do, but it works for me. Another tip is don't grip the pick so tight. This can lead to sloppiness and inconsistency with your playing. So it's important to keep everything relaxed. Now for palm muting, I prefer using the closed hand technique, but like I said before, it all depends on what you're comfortable with. When you palm mute, you do not want your palm directly on top of the strings. This will produce really no sound at all. The key is placing your palm halfway on the bridge and on the strings. So my palm is right on top of the bridge and going slightly over the edge onto the strings. This next question was asked by dozens of people. How do you connect the pentatonic and play all over the fretboard? This is something that requires patience and a lot of practice, but can be done fairly quickly if you already have an idea of how the pentatonic shapes work. The pentatonic scale comes from the major Ionian mode and the minor Aeolian mode. The major pentatonic contains 5 notes from the major scale, which are the root or 1, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th. The formula for the minor pentatonic scale is made up of the root or 1, the 3rd or flat 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, and 7th or flat 7th from the minor scale. So now that we know where they come from, let's take a look at the shapes. So there are 5 positions of the pentatonic scale. The first position is the one that we all know, and it looks like this. The other 4 positions all contain the exact same notes as the first position. So if we're playing in minor pentatonic, we're just repeating those 5 notes from the natural minor scale all throughout the neck. It's just that the order of them change for each pentatonic position. I would learn these 5 shapes and really memorize them. Once you do that, you will start to see how they all connect to each other. Now, what confuses most people is that the major and minor pentatonic shapes are the same. It just all depends on what chords are being played and what notes you're targeting. For an example, here is an A minor pentatonic scale being played over an A minor chord. Now here's that same pentatonic position being played, but over a C major chord. See how it sounds different? The reason this is because C major and A minor are relatives. If you know all the positions of the A minor pentatonic scale, then you also know all the notes of the C major pentatonic scale because they both contain the same exact notes. If you want to look at it from the starting note of each chord, then the A minor pentatonic scale first position would start with your pointer finger on the 5th fret of the low E string. For the C major pentatonic, you would still play that same shape, but in the context of this example, you would start on the 8th fret of the low E string using your pinky and carry on playing the rest of that first pentatonic position. You could also look at it as starting on the 2nd position of the pentatonic scale if that makes more sense to you. But like I said before, it doesn't matter because they all contain the same notes anyway. I attached another PDF guide down in the description of all 5 of the pentatonic shapes, so if you want to learn them, go check that out. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. It was really nice hearing from you guys and seeing what you want to learn. I think I may do this once a month or so if you want to see when I post the next Q&A, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know in the comments some other questions you may have, and maybe I'll answer them in the next Q&A video. It doesn't have to be music theory related. It could be about gear, producing, songwriting, or if you want to know more about me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week, and as always, keep on playing.